In a league dominated by quarterbacks, Derrick Henry stands out above the rest as one of the most valuable players in the NFL. Through only 7 games, Henry leads the league with 869 yards and 10 touchdowns. It comes 1 year after he went for a ridiculous 2,000 yards. Both seasons before that, Henry had over 1,000 yards, but there were plenty of criticisms of Henry earlier in his career. He didn't get off to a hot start, and he only started in 4 games through his first 2 seasons. But he turned it around, much like many that watched him at Alabama knew he could. Henry had a slow start to his time in Tuscaloosa, mainly because he sat in a backfield with Alvin Kamara, Kenyon Drake, and TJ Yeldon. But Henry eventually caught on. After nearly going for over 1,000 yards as a sophomore, Henry exploded onto the scene as a junior, rushing for over 2,200 yards and winning the Heisman Trophy before declaring for the 2016 NFL Draft, where he surprisingly didn't get taken until the second round at number 45. Despite being a running back, Henry has become a star and is certainly more valuable than the number 1 pick, Jared Goff. But if you want more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss any daily uploads. I don't think you'll find anyone to argue that Goff was the correct pick looking back, but he certainly did have his moments. Sean McVay really did make him into a great quarterback for a few years. He made 2 Pro Bowls with the Rams and, of course, led them to a Super Bowl appearance. Safe to say, things went south, and now Goff plays in the deep, dark depression that is the Detroit Lions. But it's hard to say that the next pick was that much better. Usually, if a guy isn't with the team that drafted him after 5 years, he didn't turn into a franchise star, and that is the case for Carson Wentz. Much like Goff, Wentz has had his moments and was even an All-Pro in a magical 2017 season. But of course, that year didn't go exactly how he wanted, going down with a torn ACL and Nick Foles taking over and leading the Eagles to a Super Bowl victory. As someone that's supposed to be a franchise quarterback, it's probably not ideal to have a statue of your backup outside the stadium. Wentz just dealt with so many injuries in Philly, and finally they decided to give up on him, trading him away to the Colts this past offseason. Wentz still has time to right the ship, but he did help deliver a ring to Philadelphia. But rival Dallas hasn't had the same fortune after selecting Ezekiel Elliott 2 picks later. Elliott had an immense amount of success early in his pro career, leading the league in rushing yards and being named a first-team All-Pro as a rookie. It's clear that he has emerged as one of the NFL's biggest names, making the Pro Bowl 3 times and adding another All-Pro selection. He has 3 1,000-yard seasons in 5 years, only missing the mark by less than 25 yards in the 2 years he missed, and he's well on his way in 2021. Elliott has faced some criticism, but that's what happens when you go to Dallas. But he certainly couldn't do it without his offensive line. Some of the most important players on the field often overlooked, like Ronnie Stanley. Stanley has without a doubt been one of the best pass-blocking tackles since he entered the league. His 2021 season ended prematurely after needing ankle surgery for the 2nd straight year. It does present a very big worry, but when he's been on the field, Stanley has dominated. He started in all but 8 games over his first 4 years, blocking for Lamar Jackson in his magical MVP season. Good offensive tackles are crucial for a team's success, and the Titans know that well with Jack Conklin. Conklin started all but 7 games during his tenure in Tennessee, but his play declined after a brilliant rookie year where he was named a first-team All-Pro. The Titans decided to decline his 5th-year option, and Conklin went on to sign a big contract with the Browns, where he returned to rookie form and has been a staple on a damn good Cleveland offensive line, despite being on his 2nd team already, just like Laramie Tunsil. Tunsil was supposed to go much higher at the draft before a picture of him in a gas mask with a bong.
Chris, is that a weed?
No, this is a crayon.
I'm calling the police!
911, what's your emergency?
But the Dolphins still took a shot on him, and it's definitely paid off. Tunsil has started nearly every game in his career and been very good. But Miami still decided to trade him away to Houston after entering a rebuild. He's earned a huge contract in Houston and been good in his time on the field, but is currently on injured reserve with a thumb injury. But I'm sure he'll rebound and continue to play at a high level, unlike Corey Coleman. Coleman turned into a bust fast. He had just over 400 yards as a rookie in Cleveland Cleveland, and that has easily been the best year of his career. The next season, the Browns went 0-16, but they had a near shot to win a game before an iconic Coleman drop that secured the winless season. He demanded to be traded the following offseason and landed in Buffalo, but didn't even make the final roster. Coleman spent time off and on the Patriots practice squad before being signed to the Giants, where he did play in 8 games in 2018 and stuck around for another year. Recently, he was suspended for the first 6 games of 2021 due to PEDs, but it didn't matter much due to him not even being rostered. The Browns made a bad draft decision as expected, but the Lions surprisingly nailed their pick with Taylor Decker. Decker landed on injured reserve this year due to a finger surgery, but has turned into a good pro in Detroit. He signed a big 5-year, $70.35 million deal after his rookie deal ended, solidifying himself as the future of the Lions offensive line with rookie Penei Sewell. Decker even has the ever-so-rare offensive lineman touchdown, but he definitely hasn't been more successful than Ryan Kelly. Jeff Saturday was an all-time great center in Indianapolis, but once he retired, Kelly was brought in to man the line. He's been one of the best centers in the league since and is paid as such, inking a 4-year, $50 million deal after his rookie contract. Additionally, Kelly has been named an All-Pro and made 2 Pro Bowls. He's had a slew of success, but the same doesn't apply to the string of 3 wide receivers after, starting with Will Fuller. Fuller has always performed well when he's been on the field, but that's been the problem: his health. He missed 28 games in his first 5 years in Houston and never went for over 1,000 yards, usually having to split receptions with DeAndre Hopkins. Fuller finally got his fresh start in Miami this season, but it's gotten off to the start many expected, on injured reserve due to a broken thumb. But Josh Doctson has managed to stay healthy. He's just sucked. I can unfortunately confirm this. It was a very long, depressing, hard road with Josh Doctson. Honestly, I'm just glad it's finally over. He spent 3 years in Washington and played in almost every game over his last 2 seasons, but through his tenure, he barely went for over 1,000 yards. He spent time on the Jets and Cardinals, but never saw playtime. His last game of his career was his only game with the Vikings, who swung and missed on the next pick, Laquan Treadwell. Treadwell has been even worse than Josh Doctson, which is pretty damn hard to do. He has just 750 yards in his entire career and was cut after 4 disappointing seasons in Minnesota, but he was able to latch on with the Falcons. He played in 5 games, catching 6 passes, and currently resides with the Jaguars, probably because they're the only team bad enough to have Treadwell on an active roster. But not even Paxton Lynch could get a roster spot on the Jaguars. It's hard to flame out harder than Lynch did. He only lasted 2 years in Denver and played in just 5 games, the only ones of his career. Lynch wasn't even on a roster in 2018. He signed with the Seahawks but was waived before the year and landed on the Steelers practice squad. Lynch, surprisingly, is on a pro roster right now. It's just in Canada. But from one complete disappointment to another, the 49ers took Joshua Garnett. Garnett played 22 games in his career and was released before what would have been his 4th year in San Francisco. He signed with the Lions but didn't make the team and did briefly spend time on Washington's active roster before he announced his retirement. Garnett didn't have success on the offensive line, but Jermaine Ifedi has. Ifedi has started 81 games in the pros, mainly with the Seahawks, before they declined his 5th-year option. He signed a 1-year deal with the Bears, where he played in every game last season before re-signing and landing on injured reserve in Week 5. But not many players know injured reserve quite like Hunter Henry. Henry spent 5 years with the Chargers and at times was one of the best tight ends in the league, but his time in Los Angeles was headlined by a bad ACL tear in 2018 that kept him out for the season. He had a long rehab but came back, getting franchise tagged before he signed a 3-year, $37.5 million deal with the Patriots. He has 264 yards in 7 games in 2021, but Sterling Shepard in only 4 games has 299. Shepard has been consistent over his career, going for over 500 yards in every season, but never marking over 1,000 and dealing with plenty of injuries along the way. Back in 2018, Shepard signed a 4-year, $41 million extension, solidifying himself as Daniel Jones's secure weapon. But looking back, you have to wonder if the Giants would have preferred Derrick Henry. There aren't many people ahead of Henry that I'd take over him now, but there are some options. I mean, it is hard to argue that Ronnie Stanley, Laramie Tunsil, or even Ryan Kelly rarely haven't been home run selections for their teams, but it is hard to say that anybody has made the same impact for a single team more than Derrick Henry has for the Titans. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a daily upload. Follow us on TikTok for more content all season long, and check us out on Instagram and Twitter to interact with us and talk all things sports.
Something about the girl.